Hi everyone, it's Tangi from Papercrafting Australia and welcome to Saturday's second tutorial for the Crafternoon Box for January of 2021. I'm just going to make sure that all of our streams for Facebook and YouTube are working and running okay, but looks like we've got a couple of people, looks like 3 people on Facebook Live, and we've got another 4 people on YouTube. So if you are in the Facebook or YouTube streams and you're live, please jump in and say a quick hello, introduce yourself, let people know where you're from, meet your fellow crafters, and let's get into having a good time. I can now see, thankfully, both the Facebook chat and the YouTube chat while I'm doing this. I do have to kind of do a few mouse clicks and get backwards and forwards between my screens, but I can see those. So if you are in Facebook or YouTube, please say hello and let us know that you're here and ready to go. Hello, Tony Bensley. Lovely to see you. Welcome back for another tutorial. This week you might have seen on the title screen, we are doing some background stamping on our 2 cards that we're going to do today. So that is what we are going to be doing today. Hello, Linda. Lovely to see you. Hi, Deb. I hope it's okay to call you Deb, even though you've got Deborah as your full name on your YouTube profile. If you're like me, Tangi gets shortened to Tange. So, yeah, we're Aussie. We like to shorten everything, even if it's just 1 syllable to start with. But yeah, lovely to have you all on board. Let me just show you really quickly what I've got on my desk that I'm going to be working with today. And it's completely up to you what colours and pieces that you want to use from your kits. But essentially we're going to be making something similar or something along the lines of these 2 cards that I've done. So this one we're actually background stamping or the flowers or something similar from your stamp set onto the background. So this will be, it's great if you do your craft ink pad on your craft cardstock. So if you've got your craft coloured card and envelope there, that would be a great start. And then the second one that I'm working on will be, this is on one of the cream coloured cards. So if you've got your cream coloured card and envelope, there's a white piece of cardstock in your kit that's cut down to just a little bit shy. I think it's about 141 millimeters by 99 millimeters. So if you want to double check those measurements and cut that piece down if you're if I haven't cut them to the right size initially. And this one, obviously, if you have other coloured ink pads that you're working with at home in your stash, by all means, go crazy on using a different colour that matches in with the rest of the colours of your themes. But for today, I'm just going to keep using the craft one on both of those cards. I've also just chosen a selection of different embellishments and some patterned paper from the kit. A couple of our little bits and bobs here, some of the little wooden flare elements, some sentiments and bits. I've got a couple of acrylic stamp blocks. This one needs a bit of a clean. You can see it's a little bit pink tinted. So I've got 2 different sizes because I am going to be stamping quite a long border type stamp, and the other one I'm going to be working with, I'm going to try not this one that I've done on my example, but I'm going to try this one here for today, and that's because I haven't used that stamp yet and I want to show you guys how to kind of work with your stamps to give them get them conditioned so that you can start using them. I've got the foam tape that we were using last week. I've got our rhinestones, and I've just got a couple of little bits, a little bit of an offcut of the Time Green Kaisercraft stock. You all remember me stuffing up my dimensions and cutting on last week's project. So this is the piece off that. I really love this colour in this paper, so I wanted to fit it in somewhere, so I'm going to use that. This is my white card piece. I'm going to use a section of this patterned paper that came in the paper pack this month as well. And I've got my envelopes and cards there ready to go. So I'm just going to check in on everybody who is, hello, Carrie is in the Facebook chat. Currently on a lunch date with my man in the Hunter Valley at the moment. Well, la-di-da. Carrie, what are you doing on YouTube or Facebook if you're having lunch? But yeah, look, hopefully you're having a lovely time, and you can always go back and watch this replay later on. So don't panic. Yeah. So yeah, welcome to everybody who is online. I'm just gonna, while I've got my face up, I'm just gonna clean a few of these bits and pieces off so that I've got a bit of space to work in, particularly these cards. How's everybody been since I spoke to you all, or some of you at least, on Wednesday? Everybody been good? No major incidents or dramas or anything like that? So yeah, I hope not. I went out to the block where we're building our house this morning. My partner and I went out there, and the builders have done diddly squat. Since last week, they've done a couple of teeny tiny jobs, but not a lot. So I'm not very pleased with them this week. I know they're still kind of, I suppose, getting back to work after the holidays, but I'm very impatient and I just want it built. So I was a little bit disappointed. Has everybody got a beverage? I've got a hot cup of tea. Well, it's half hot and it's half full. So yeah, I'm going to drink it. Yeah. Beautiful. Tony's all good. That's great to hear. Linda, I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're all good. Yeah. All right, I'm going to switch down now to my tabletop so that we can get started on some stamping. I've grabbed a piece of just photocopy paper, scrap paper, whatever you've got, that I can, oops, just try not to make too much noise while I'm opening this stamp set. I'm just going to use that to be able to stamp off a few things, just to check my stamps as they go. Yeah. So there's no other, what have we got? Bluetooth, the Bluetooth in your hearing aids, Carrie. So he doesn't know you're listening. Oh. That is multitasking of the highest order. Listening to a craft show while you have lunch in the Hunter Valley. That's incredible. All right, let's get started with things for today. I am going to start with my craft cardstock card today, and I'm going to, when I can eventually peel it off. Oh gosh, yep, it takes a little bit to get those off, but once I've got that off, you'll feel that it's not particularly, I don't know, it doesn't feel particularly sticky, or you know, it's stuck to the backing card really well, but it doesn't feel particularly great there. So before I go to, you know, I could put it onto my ink block and that's going to stick no problems. But what you'll find is that when you first use a stamp, quite often these photopolymer ones have a little bit of residue left on them from the manufacturing process. And so they kind of don't hold the ink, and you'll find that it pulls quite a bit. So what I tend to do with mine is give it a pretty good rub with my fingers just to get any of that residue off. I also have this really lovely, this has actually been washed. This is a clean towel, but it's obviously stained from lots of use with ink and stuff. But I like to kind of give my stamp a little bit of a rub quite firmly across that towel. It is a microfiber cloth, so you're not going to end up with lots of gunk stuck in your in the little grains of your stamp. But I just give that a really good rub around, and then it should be ready to go. But the test will be once you've put your stamp onto your ink block, and this is why I've got my little piece of paper here, is once I dab a bit of ink onto here, and I'm just using the ink cubes because I like to have lots more craft things. So if I can buy some cheaper, you know, the ink cubes are a little bit cheaper than the full-size ink pads, and they also take up less space. So I've got a lot more options available to me for a lower price. But yeah, just pop some ink on that, give it a push down onto the white paper, and you should find that you get a really crisp, clear image. If you don't, clean off your stamp, and I've just got my little baby wipes coming out. Just give my block and my stamp just a little bit of a wipe off there. Get my towel again and just give it a little bit more of a rub. Sometimes you'll find that the middle, you know, you might have worked on the edges fairly well, but you haven't really gotten into the middle. But just give it a good going over. Don't be too scared. You can't really break them. And then pop it back onto your block. pop my bits and pieces over there so they're out of my way, and then have another bit of a stamp practice, if you like. Pop that down and just keep doing that until you do get a really nice, crisp, clear image. I had a little bit of, you know, not quite clear through the middle, so I've just cleaned that off and now I'm getting a really nice stamped image. Linda, all good. Have missed crafting, so very happy to be here today. Did you catch up on the last week, Linda? Hello, Judy. I can see you've just jumped in on the Facebook Live, so welcome once again. We're getting into it. So what I have decided to do for my layout for today, oh, and I haven't cut, oh, I knew I'd do that. I haven't cut one. Oh no, I know what I was going to do. I'm going to use, I'll just switch back to my screen so I can see what I'm actually doing. So I'm going to use this little greeting that's come in our set. So this is from the Kaisercraft Flower Shop set that we're using. So live life in full bloom. I thought that's kind of a nice one, and it's fairly generic. It could be a thank you card, it could be a sorry card, a get well soon, anything like that. So it's kind of good. So I think I'm going to pop that somewhere in the middle here. And I'm also going to use these little flourishes, the little timber pieces that came in the kits. And I'm kind of going to give them I'm actually going to tuck them once I do get into making this just a little bit under here, and I'm going to pop this up onto some foam tape. And we're going to stamp in the background, remember. So I'm going to be stamping this image onto the background just to create some more interest into our work, and using the same coloured ink on the same coloured cardstock, or one that is slightly darker than your cardstock or slightly lighter if you're using an amalgam ink, which these are not. These are dye inks, so a lighter colour won't work particularly well in this instance. But for a darker colour or the same colour onto the cardstock, it's going to come out really well. And I've really loved this piece of paper that came in the paper shop set, and I particularly like this little strip down the bottom, which is like a piece of floorboard, and it's got some writing on it. So I'm actually going to trim that down just to that piece there, and I'm going to pop that across the middle as a belly band. So I'm just going to grab my trimmer so that I've got all my pieces ready to go once I'm ready to start stamping. I'm just going to try, and it's not actually straight on the paper, so it will be a little bit, I'll get a little bit of that extra bit up the top, but that's not particularly a problem that I can see. And then I've done this to myself again. I do this all the time. I cut my piece too short, and this guide is actually quite thick, so I do mess it up a little bit, and then cut that across there. Then it's a bit hard to get your fingers in and get around and all that kind of stuff. But I've done it. So that is going to be, excuse my arm, my belly band. So that will sit across under here. Pop my little flourishes into position, and then that little guy's going to go up there, and we're going to do some background stamping. Cool. How are we going? Is anybody using something other than the craft brown at the moment? I'm looking forward to seeing all of your pieces at the end. Hi Leah, welcome. Popping in to say hello. Won't be able to see the whole video till later. That's okay. That's why we record them and keep them on Facebook and YouTube, so that you can kind of come back when it's convenient. I know that life gets in the way. Some days you've got things to do, some days you don't. So that is all beautiful. Now what I want to tell you about these lovely little pieces is that you can actually take your ink pad directly to the timber and add a little bit of colour. So you can add a tiny bit of colour. I don't know if you can see that particularly well. Let's put it on over here. So you can add a bit of colour and a bit of texture. If you wanted to colour it with a green ink pad instead of the craft, then you absolutely can. You can also use, most textures will work on these little timber pieces. So yeah, have a bit of a play around and see what you like more. I think that's probably a little bit dark, but it's actually, I don't hate it, and it will definitely make this lighter piece pop a little bit more. So I might just quickly colour these up, and these kind of things you want to give a little bit of time to dry, so do them towards the start of your project unless you want to sit around for a while waiting for things to happen. So just brushing it on. Obviously the bigger your ink pad, the faster this will be for you, but the smaller ones also have the benefit of being able to get into some little tricky spaces, whereas other pieces you can't necessarily get into with the big ink pads quite as easily. So I've coloured those up. Good thing about these is if I lay it all together in a moment and realise I don't like it, just like cardstock, it's got two sides. So this side is still nice and clean, so I can mix and match between if I want one to be the lighter colour and one to be the darker colour, etc. So I've got a few options to play with. But let's get into stamping. So I know that where this is going to sit, I'm a very symmetrical person, so this is going to sit across the middle. So my stamp, if I take it off my block and just kind of put it up, it's kind of, you're not going to see all of it above that little greeting block. Otherwise I'm going to go off and into the back of the card. So I know that I can stamp a little bit lower down from the top of this where the fold is, and I'll be, quite okay there. And I think what I might do is just do this one in reverse upside down. So I'll kind of do it, fairly even and symmetrical top and bottom, but the bottoms will be upside down. So once you've kind of had a bit of a play, you might have chosen a different one of the images from the sheet. So you might be using, for my last one, I used this little guy, which is the smaller and larger flowers, and that was really fun to kind of work within, and you can just kind of make a pattern, like a repeating pattern with that one. We'll also use this top one, the lace border, for the second project today. So you might be using the hanging basket, which is beautiful as well. I actually would love to see how that goes if you kind of do one way and then flip it upside down for the next one. I think it might lock in almost, it might need to be a kind of a checkerboard type pattern to fit them in, but I think they would work quite well as well. So I'm going to throw this onto my little block, ink it up and try and get it roughly symmetrical. Of course, not everybody likes symmetry, so if you don't, Carrie, I'm thinking about you. Carrie likes to go crazy and go where the art takes her, which is brilliant. So I'll try and not get my head in the overhead shot and just kind of line that up roughly, push down, and then bring that up. So you can see that tone on tone there. So there's the darker tone and then the light one underneath. Tony's made a comment on our YouTube that says she loves the little wooden flourishes. I like them too, and I'm really worried that Kaiser Crafter may be going to not do them anymore. They're changing a lot of their product stock, so I just have to kind of wait until the next release comes out to see what they're actually including. So fingers crossed, because I do like them as well. Otherwise we might have to buy a really big batch so that we can stock up on them for a while. I'm pretty sure there's some crafty people out there that can cut those type of things. I have a Cricut machine, a Cricut maker, and I have heard that you can cut some little balsa wood pieces very similar to that. So I'm keen to explore that when I've got a little bit of time on my hands. I don't often have time on my hands anymore, so we'll see how we go. So these ones, as I said before, I'm just going to pop them upside down. It doesn't particularly matter that they're upside down. I know that they're meant to be a basket of flowers, but the recipient of my card may not. And because it isn't the focal point of my card, some people won't even notice. It will literally just become a background. So don't ever be afraid to just whack something upside down if you think, it's going into a background and it's, going to fall into a bit of the background focus and people aren't going to really notice. So don't forget to clean off your stamps either. If I was about to use a different color on that, absolutely you're going to want to change, clean it off and, before you use something else on it. See all that red? That's something that's left on my block, obviously Christmas stuff. But yeah, clean your stamps. If you're not going to use it straight away, as in right now, at the end of your crafting session, definitely clean them, because otherwise they will get stained and go a bit yucky over time. So I'll pop my little block away, and I'm pretty much, because I've cut all my other bits and pieces out, I'm pretty much ready to, I guess, start assembling. And look, I've managed to line those up so that I can put my strip, my belly band strip, pretty much bang on the bottom edges of each of those. But what I'm going to do, just because I did get a little bit of that other pattern in there, and it looks perfectly fine, but I'm just going to rough up the edges of this, and that will also help it blend in that other pattern. It'll give it a bit of a darker edge, so you don't have that raw white, I'm a printed piece of paper on top and a white piece of paper underneath look. And it also just ages it a little bit and adds a bit of interest. So you guys will have seen me do this. I think I did it in last week's live. I may not have, but it just, you know, because it's a rustic looking piece of paper anyway, it doesn't hurt to add just a little bit more colour and interest to it. I'm going to need to trim this down at some point, and then I'm going to get a raw edge on the edge, but that looks really nice. And then I'm going to need to pop that in the middle and work out roughly where, or maybe I can put these up the top and in the bottom so that it doesn't impede on the, because I've left a little bit of a gap in between these. What do we think? I guess you guys are possibly all still hunting through all the millions of pieces of stuff that you could have used in your kits to work out what pieces you're going to use. But yeah, let me know how you're going. Okay, same today. Just going to read the chat while everybody's going through. Yeah, Carrie, the Gina K cleaning cloth, the tidy towel, is really amazing. And I had one before and I've used it to death, and I'm waiting for my next one to arrive. So yeah. Oh, you're on the way to a chocolate shop. No, don't tell me that. That's crazy. All right, I think I've looked at that enough, and I think I like where that's going. It's a bit of a rustic kind of look. So I'm just going to pop these little guys to the side and start assembling my card. Now, yes, I know I haven't cut this down just yet, but I know I can just trim that off once I've glued it into position. So I'm just going to run a little bit of my amazing Big W Officeworks Big Blue Warehouse tape across there. So that's just the Bostik brand. And I find it really good. It is acid free, so you can use it for all of your crafting and paper things. So like I said, I'm just going to trim these edges off. So I'm just going to flip that over and snip along the side of the card, just using the card as a bit of a guide. And that cleans up nicely. Thanks, Tony. You like the look of this one? So I'm happy with it. So then this is quite big, so I can push these fairly high, but I am going to need to use a bit of liquid glue to get these timber ones to stay down. So they are a little bit more difficult to secure than just a piece of paper. So they're just a bit heavier, so therefore they just need a little bit more adhesive. So I've just got my turbo glue pen from Couture Creations. I'm just going to hope that it doesn't all just spurt out at me, because you guys will get a laugh out of it, but I'll be cleaning up the mess. Always got a pin at the ready to kind of see if I've got anything really stuck in there. No, I think it's there. It just is being tricky because I'm live. Of course, none of this ever happens when you're crafting on your own. Here it comes. It does get a little bit of a crust on it down in the tube, so it can sometimes be a bit annoying to get out. I'll pop that one there. Oops, a little bit on these. It wouldn't hurt me to have a bit more of a precision tip on this one. I know I often, I don't know where it is today. Oh, here it is. I'll often decant my glue out into one of these little bottles that's got a really tiny thin nib on it, and it just means that I can apply it a little bit more specifically and also not use quite as much glue when I do it. But this is giving me what I need. I've got plenty of glue on there, and it's fine. So I hope you're all cruising along there in the background, getting some bits and pieces together in an order that you like. I love seeing all the variations that you guys throw up as a result of seeing the tutorials, because I know I'll watch somebody else's tutorial and, you know, what I come out with is totally different to what they've presented, and it's really what it's all about. It's kind of having a look at the idea and, you know, doing something like this. And the main technique for today is just using stamping to put a background together, because often we just think it's, you know, you can only use it for a greeting or a one image, but, you know, you can repeat it a number of times. But being able to see somebody else's work and then taking that idea and turning it into something else is half the fun of it. It'd be boring if we were all the same, wouldn't it? Alrighty. So I've stuck those. They're going to take a little while just for the glue to dry and go clear. And then, of course, I'll pop that in with a little bit of the foam tape. Now, I know I don't need to go all the way over the piece, because I know that there's only a section in the middle where I can actually stick it to the bottom of the card. And then these little pieces are about the same height as this foam tape. So it works really well. So it'll only be one kind of level, but it'll still mean that there's, you know, just that extra little bit of dimension for the card. And we don't want to go too many layers high, because you will have a lot of trouble fitting them into your envelopes. So unless you're just going to hand it to someone or slip it into a you know, the side paper of a bunch of flowers or something along those lines, if you need to fit it into an envelope, just make sure that you're always checking how much dimension you're spinning on your cards. All of our favorite parts, getting the backing off any kind of tape, stickers. You should see me labeling things when I send them out to you guys. I have a fight on my hands. I need to grow some fingernails, perhaps. Never going to happen. All right, so I'm just going to stick that down roughly in the middle, and then I think I need to bring just a little bit of bling into the equation for this one. It's looking quite natural and neutral, and I really like that for this one, but I might keep doing things down really close to me on the table, because I think I don't have enough room, but it's out of shot for you guys, so that's not so good. Our favourite game of playing with these. These are as fiddly as the backing tape, I tell you. Get over. Maybe. It's going to be one of these days. Yeah, Tony, you're right. You do get lots of tips and ideas from watching other people's tutorials, so it is quite good. I enjoy it. And that's why we love seeing everybody's work when you post it after you've finished your tutorial, like whether it's today or, you know, if you're watching the replay, just jump on after you've done it, take a quick photo. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. Doesn't need to be with a fancy phone or in fancy lighting or with any particular fancy background on it. Just something that can kind of show us where your thought pattern and your craft idea went. And yeah, share your work with everybody. So I didn't score that before, so I'm kind of doing it a little bit the hard way, because now I've got all this three-dimensional stuff up the top, but a little bone folder will get you in there. Fold that down. So that's a little cute one. And I like how this has got, you know, part of the paper had the rough smudge kind of in here anyway. And just adding the little bits that I added, you know, it just means that it's not completely symmetrical because it's a little bit rougher and dirtier over here and not so much on that side. So I think that came up really well. And of course you've got your envelope to go with that. So you can put a stamp. Of course I cleaned off my stamp and put it away, thinking I was done. Never done. I know you're supposed to put, you know, the address and things on the back of here, but I will often put a stamp on and then put the address down the bottom for my details. So, you know, see what you've got. See where your stamp fits. You might find that, you know, I can stamp it down here a little bit and still leave a bit of room at the top for an address. And it just adds that little something different that people are like, oh, it's not just a craft colored card, or it's not just a white colored envelope. It's, you know, it's something special. And you can kind of tell when you get something like this in the mail with a handwritten address on the front and something like that, you go, this is going to be something special. So that, my friends, is card number 1 for today. I'm just going to clean up my space and have a bit of my now probably semi-cold cup of tea. Also, I talk too much, so I do run out of voice every time I do these. It's pretty quiet in our house for an hour or two after I finish these sessions. Okie dokie. So I hope you're finishing off there in the background. Tidy up my space a little bit. Things that I know I won't need for a second or two. Get some bits ready to start the next card. And if anyone is in on the YouTube at the moment and you're not able to make comments or anything because it says you need to make a channel or create a channel, don't freak out about creating a channel. It doesn't mean that you have to broadcast anything. It doesn't mean it's going to broadcast your face. It just is their version of saying create an account. And that account just means that you can make comments on there. So I think everyone who's here has made comments, so it's probably not. But if you are coming in later, definitely, yeah, just create an account or create a channel, and you'll be able to pop some comments in there and chat with everybody else. But I think we might get on to my second card for today. Put my cup of tea out of shot. You don't need to see what's left. Just a little bit, couple of mouthfuls. Also, if you are in the YouTube channel and or on the Facebook, give the video a like. We get kind of bumped up ratings if you are hitting the like button on those kind of things. The more love we can get, the more people see us, and the bigger our following grows, and that can only be a good thing with a bunch of craft people. So I'm going to get onto this second card because we're about halfway through the hour now. So as I said before, I've got one of the cream coloured cards for this one. You don't have to do a cream coloured one. It might be something, you might want to use one of your white ones, or you might have, you know, changed your mind about using the craft one for your last one. But either way, you can, you know, pick and choose, mix and match, whatever you like. I've also got the white piece of cardstock that came in the kit, and if I didn't cut it down properly for you, it should be 141 millimeters by 99 millimeters, and that just leaves a really tiny, you know, sort of 2.5 millimeter border around the edge of your card if you actually put it in line properly when you put it down. So for this, for me, I'm going to use this lace border, the one that came at the top of this kit. So this is, again, the Flower Shop stamp set from Kaisercraft. I've already conditioned this one, but if you haven't used any of your stamps yet, you haven't had to play at home, definitely go ahead and go back through that conditioning, rubbing it onto, you know, rub it with your fingers, rub it onto a towel, have a bit of a go with a stamp onto a surface, a piece of paper. And this is the kind of pattern that we're going for. So what I've done with this is I've stamped it one way and then I've inked it up again, rotated the stamp around and done it at the bottom. And I've lined it up as best I can. It's not perfect, but we're making handmade cards, so it shouldn't be perfect. Yeah. If you are a mega perfectionist, which I often will be, but in this I've got to let it go a little bit and just make it a little bit more handmade. Now you can you can look at different things with this. When I did have a look at doing this, I wanted to kind of line this up, and I wish there was one extra sort of bubble of lace a little bit further along, because then I could line it up in this little gap underneath, you know, where it kind of concertinas, and I could have made a more repetitive pattern. But I really liked this little extra bit of white that shone through. And for this one, I actually think I'm going to try and, I don't really know, because I put this belly band on in this one, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different today. Is that because in my other example, so in this one that I did with the background stamping, I actually created this little blue and white check is a little pocket. So these little tags that came in all of your kits, I've actually just turned that into a little pocket so that they can sit in there. And what I'm going to do on this card today is I'm actually going to make a pocket using part of this paper. I'm then going to layer that up. I'm going to trim this down so it's not so big. Layer this lovely little window with a flower box on it. Pop the word love up on top of that. But then inside this piece of paper where the pocket is, I'm going to use one of the scrap pieces of my time cardstock that I had left to actually just slot that in behind. And I'm going to add this little love you tag almost to the top of it. I don't want all of it to be there, but because I've also got love going on the card here, I'm just going to pop one of these little embellishments, the little cutout love heart that came in with all of these little bits in the kit. I'm going to glue that together as well. So it'll almost be like, maybe like a bookmark, or you could write a cute little second message on that other than inside your card, or you could pop on there, you know, handmade by whoever, just to pop in there as a little token. So that's what I'm going to do with this card. So it will be a little bit different. So I kind of need my pattern to be quite repetitive all the way through, because I'm going to have this piece of card block, most of it, but you're going to see it all around the outside. So I'm going to just see how I go, and I might just try and measure it out by just rotating this over a couple of times just to see if I've got enough paper. I think it's like just perfect. So if I just leave a little gap between each of them, and I still, I think we'll go up one way, one down, one up, one down the page, but I'm not going to leave this big gap that I had in the middle, which was for the belly band. So it's up to you, depends on what you're going to lay out for the day, but I'll get into that. So I'll leave that card just up there for the moment. And I've got one of my long acrylic blocks. Just get that on there nice and firmly. And then comes the fun of just inking it up. Now this stamp just fits just inside the white edge of your card. I think I might go this way first and work from the bottom up. So I'm going to try and line this up as straight as I can, but who knows? We might end up with anything by the end. And I think I will probably go around, oops, going to get my fingers all dirty now, around the edge of the card when I'm finished and just rough that up a little bit, just so that we don't have quite so much of that white border. It's a personal preference. You might like a nice white clean look, or you might like to put a black background mat underneath and cut this down a little bit, which is another cool trick. There's a real possibility that I'm going to end up not fitting a full pattern in here, so we'll just see how we go. You know, the cardstock also has the other side, so if I stuff it up, I can go to the other side and have a go on that. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, they say. Not that I condone violence against animals, but there is the old saying. So yeah, see how you go. Tony, you like the pocket idea? Yeah, pockets are really fun. And I mean, the more pockets we do, the more it will lead us towards later in the year. I'd really love to work on a big project. So we might not do any cards for 1 month, and we might actually make an explosion box and work on a layer each week. So to do that, I'm kind of thinking we might just forego cards for one of the months, and I'm talking maybe down, you know, September, October type of time, so that we've all had a bit of a play with a whole lot of things and techniques and things in the meantime. But then, and you'll also have built up lots of different coloured stamps, stamp pads, inks. You'll have lots of little scrap pieces of paper that are really fun to use up in an explosion box. So we might sort of over the next few months just progress a few more ideas to help build on some techniques and ideas that you'll need for making an explosion box and making those pockets. So I thought in March what we might do. So the March box is due to come out. We're going to launch that next week, next weekend. So you guys will be, it'll be during your live at 2 o'clock that we'll launch that box. And so you'll be the first ones to see it and all of that. I will show you, before we go today, I'll show you something really exciting that I've just got the proof. I've got a photo from one of our suppliers of a new product that is going to go into the March box. So I'll show you that. But for March, I think the box is curated around some pastel colours and some rainbow colours. So I had thought that with Easter coming up, we might do a little bit of an Easter project. Oh my God, did you look at that? I made it fit perfectly. Whoa, that never happens. Sorry, just a little bit, getting a bit ahead of myself. So Easter and pastels. Some people don't celebrate Easter, and I appreciate that. That's totally fine. Some of the ideas that I think, you know, there'll be some things for Easter that you can put in, but there'll also be some other goodies that you can put in if you don't celebrate Easter and you just want to make something cute, like a birthday card, or, you know, anything for a child perhaps, or even a you know, celebrating the birth of a new baby, that kind of thing. So there'll be lots of bright colours. And I thought one of the projects we could do for March is to do a card. There's a folding card that has a slot at the end for a bookmark. And everybody always needs a bookmark. I am always forever using the receipt from when I purchased the book as my bookmark, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't we all deserve a nice bookmark? So I think that might be one of the projects for March. I'm still just weighing my ideas up. So I'm just going to dirty up and rough up these edges. Oh, that's making quite a noise. But yeah, look, if there's ever any particular projects that you see out there that you go, hey, this is really cute, I'd like to try and make this, or, you know, let me know, because if there's something specific that you want to do, I can absolutely tailor a future box to include certain projects. I'm open to that. Not that I don't have a bunch of ideas banging around my head at all hours of the day and night, telling me I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and yeah, let's try this technique, and yeah, there's plenty going on. But also, if there's something specific, let's do it. So yeah, just roughing this up a little bit. I've also got my eye on there's a stencil coming in the March kit. So by the March kit, you'll have a brown color, you'll have a pink ink pad, which comes in the February kit, and then you'll have a purple ink pad that is coming in the March kit. So there's some really great you know, ink blending that you can do, mixing pink and purple together, or if you're doing something feminine, you can just use the pink, or, you know, if you're doing something masculine, you can use the purple, or you can go back to just using the brown. And that is not to say that girls do pink and boys do purple and that's the end of the story, but there is there's obviously some, some that sit fairly strongly in those camps. But yeah, there'll definitely be some variety going on there. So that, I think, just having the darker edges on this, I think just gives it just a little bit more definition and looks a little bit more finished than just, oh, whoops, my stamp didn't go all the way to the edge. So see how yours turns out. If you're doing the same one, you might be doing this floral one down the bottom and just repeat stamping that all over, or doing an upside down kind of diamond pattern with your flower baskets. You might be doing anything. So I'm just going to cut this down a little bit because I don't want it to be super huge. Probably want it to go to about there. Cut my trimmer, my little $7 or $8 trimmer from Kmart, if you're wondering. It's good for the basic stuff. I wouldn't use it for my heavy duty cutting, but for what this is, perfectly fine. Okay. So I'm going to end up mounting this quite low, so it's not going to be centered vertically, because then I'll pop this stuff on here. But then we are going to tuck a piece of this in that slot behind here and then pop these little bits on the top of the tag. And so I kind of want that not to go all the way in, so I might actually even need to mount that a little bit lower down. And then I kind of have to work out how much of this I'm going to need. So basically behind this piece, when we put it on, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right on the edges, and for that I'm probably going to just use my little thin adhesive, because if I use this one, it's it's going to be quite thick and I'm going to have to cut this piece of cardstock down quite narrow. Not that there's a problem with that. If you can have a narrow little tag, that's totally fine, but this might be just a little bit too much overkill for that purpose. So let's assemble some of this and get it stuck down so that it won't move, because there's a few things that we can do. And also I am going to need just a little bit of time for the glue on this panel to dry before I start trying to insert other bits into it. This panel's easy because you just kind of need to make it kind of centered and even. Easier said than done. That's a good start. Now this one, as I measured it up, I kind of need to get it almost down to where those little scalloped arches are. And remembering I only need to put glue on 3 sides, because otherwise I'm going to glue the whole section down and that would defeat the purpose. I'm just going to check in on my Facebook people. Oh yeah, Carrie and Leah are still talking about chocolate shops. Oh dear. Carrie, you kill me. I am just laughing about this chocolate shop visit while you're listening to a craft tutorial. It just never ends. All right, so 3 edges that we need here. Just pop this in. Oops, messages are going off on my Facebook. So see how this is just really thin and I can get it really close to the edge. Hopefully you can see that from there. I don't know. White on white is always really hard to see on the camera. All right, flip that over. Make sure you've got the glue at the bottom and that your card is the right way around. We've all made the mistake of putting something on upside down at some point. Now the wet glue does give you a little bit of a chance to wiggle a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. And then what you want to do, I generally will just pop just my craft blocks or something heavier you go, stapler, just onto those corners just for a little bit while it's drying, and that'll just make it all stay down. Wet glue or liquid glue generally has that little bit of a wave that it can sometimes get into certain papers, so I like to just give it a chance to you know, to have something to stick to. Now I'm going to measure this in, just measuring this piece of card against where I'm going to get it to sit on my actual card. So it can't be any, and then where I want this to sit. There. Just marking a little spot there. I'm not going to trust myself to cut a straight line on camera, because when I do it goes horribly wrong. Get that out of the way. So that'll slot in there. And what I want to do is sit this on here, but I kind of want that to sit just above the top of the, I guess this could be a bookmark. Kind of, I think it would be, oops, maybe put it in the middle. Just a nice little tag to put in there to write something else on. You know, sometimes everybody, you know, people will give like a family present and, you know, the cards from the whole family, but, you know, one of the kids might want to write something special to Auntie Joe, or who knows. So that's just, I've just taped those down so they will sit there, and that'll be a nice little tag pull that somebody can pull out. Got a bit of a harsh edge from the trimmer on that bit of card, so I'm just going to flatten that down. This should be right to come off here now. Whoops, crash bang. More stuff than you can poke a stick at going on this desk. Yeah, so that slots in just nicely, sits exactly where I kind of want it to. It sort of looks a little bit inconspicuous at first. It'll look a little bit like part of the design, but there might become a realization, or you might have to tell your recipient that there's actually something on there that they can access. So I'm just going to tape this piece down. So this is the little window with the flower basket on it. Pop that down on my patterned paper that I've put there. So you can see there's lots of interest that's been built up with all the layers that we're putting on here. So there's the lovely stamped background, some patterned paper, a nice little image, a little keyword, and then, you know, adding a little action function like a little bookmark or a tag. I'm just going to pop this word up on some foam tape just so that it's got just a little bit of dimension and fun to the card. It'll, you know, it's only got one real big layer to it, so it's not going to impact on the envelope so much. Ooh, I overestimated how much tape I needed there. It's by a few millimeters. Perfect. So just take, whoops, that, get off my finger. This tape is like, it's the best foam tape in the world, but it's the most annoying little piece of backing that goes on it. And I haven't got my head in the camera yet. This is great. I'm doing well. So that's that for this card. I'm just going to put a little bit of, this is a Wink of Stella brush. So this is a little glittery pen thing that's made by the Kuretake company. You can find it from lots of good craft stores. I'm trying to find a solid supplier that can get me this on a regular basis. But it is just like a little, it's a glitter pen. So it's a little bit of a clear glue with some glitter in it. And I'm just going to use it to brush across these little flowers that are here. just to give that card a little bit of sparkle. I don't want to put any rhinestones on this one. It's a lot of, I might just give that a brush. Just when I started that, there's quite a bit of glitter on that left-hand side. You might not be able to see that, but there's just a little bit of shimmer and shine on there now. So it just looks like something, just a little bit, little pop of color and a little bit of bling on there. So that's that little one. I think I'll call that finished before I keep playing with things too much and adding more and more and more things to it. So I'll give you some time to finish up what you're doing in the background there. So that was my card. Here's my other one. Tidy this a little bit up. What a mess. Somewhere there. Something like that. But yeah, that's the two cards and the other two examples. So the two that we finished today and the two other ones. So don't forget, if you have enjoyed today's tutorial, to click on the like button or subscribe to the channel, because I do load up all of the videos in advance. So not as in that they're live, but just loading them up. Give me back to your front camera. Just load them up so that there's a reminder. So the reminder pops up from YouTube if you are subscribed to the channel and you've got the little notifications bell selected to all. So that pops up about half an hour before we're due to go live. So I go live for you guys at 2 o'clock on Saturday. So 4 Saturdays a month if we have sometimes we get a crazy week, crazy month, and we have more than 4. Yeah, you'll get that notification at about 1:30 Eastern Daylight Time before the tutorial goes live at 2 o'clock. You'll also get one for our What's Up Wednesdays. So that is on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, and that is, there's no crafting per se, but I am going to probably jump in and do a bit of ink blending for you guys this week, just so that there's something to look at. There was a question last week about or during the week this week about ink blending and what types of inks are better. So I'm going to go through a couple of different inks and show you what I think of some of them and which ones I find work best for me. Certainly it's Gina K and Distress Oxide inks, but everyone has their own kind of thing. So yeah, so like the channel and hit subscribe and you'll get notified in advance of any time that we're going live on YouTube. I've got a couple of little sneak peeks for March for you. So I know if you were tuned in on Wednesday, you would have seen me show you this lovely little greeting block, which is coming in your February Crafternoon box, as well as this, whoops, upside down, upside down, Miss Jane. Oh, it's Mr. Squiggle time. So this little one, so it's got the little glossy love across the hearts. So those two are coming in the February kit. And then once they've come out in those kits and boxes, you will find them in our store. But I want to give you a sneak peek. So I've got 3 things to show you for the March kits that you haven't seen yet. So this one is a little greeting block that I have made and designed. So it has this little floral embellishment top and bottom. And when we get down to March, I'm going to show you a couple of things that we can do with, you can stamp a greeting on there. So if you have a particular word or some kind of sentiment or greeting that will fit in that gap, you can pop that on. I'm also going to show you some hand calligraphy in a texture style and also in an embossing, so we can actually get some nice gold lettering and foiling on there. So there's that one that'll be coming in the March kit. So when that comes out on Wednesday, if you're not already on Saturday, if you're not already a subscriber, jump in and book yourself a March kit or box. And there's this cute little one. I don't know if you can see it. Here it goes. Check that out. So all this little white writing, the Happy Easter and the little bunny, is a glossy white raised print. And then in the background, you can see it there, there's the little white Easter eggs, just little outline shapes. So they're coming in your March kit as well. And the last thing that I have for you for the March sneak peek is, you may or may not have seen, just got to find it now. Where's it gone? Just one piece that I needed to add to this. So this is a piece of our paper that is coming in the March pack. And so this week you'll find that we're going to go back in and do another Name the Papers competition. So this is for the March papers. So there's some purple, there's some pastels, and there's lots of rainbow papers that are coming. So this is one of those papers. And what I've done is I've converted this into washi tape. So we're actually going to get washi tape in our March kits. So they are on their way from the supplier. This is the photo that it's not great quality. I do apologize for that, but this is the photo that the supplier has taken for me and popped through on an email yesterday. So they are in the process of being shipped to us at the moment. And I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that. And so there will be some kind of project that involves washi tape coming in March. I keep saying to you guys that I am so confused about the fact that I'm living and working in January's box, February's box, and March's box all at the same time. So I'll always have 3 hats on. So it does get a little bit complex for me. And sometimes I have to stop before I go, which one am I talking about? I did want to show you, there's 2 more things, and then I will be out of here for you because we've just hit the hour mark and everyone's probably start some other craft projects. But I subscribe to this little thing that I found through Facebook. I'm not getting paid for this at all. I just really love this idea, and I know that there'll be some of you that really love this concept. But it's called the Flower Letters. And it is a subscription service that sends you every 2 weeks. They send you a letter, a physical, personally addressed letter, and it's on the most gorgeous stationery that you've ever seen. And it's an interactive experience. It's the story of a couple who met during World War II. And these are the letters that they've exchanged. Now, this is fiction, but it's obviously got some basis on real life events. But I've so far received two installments of this, and I'll give you a little sneak peek of what it looks like. So this is the first letter. So this is a letter from Charlie to Aubrey Rose, who are the 2 characters that are in the story. So I don't know much more about it because I've only got 2 installments. So I've got 1 letter from Charlie and 1 letter from Audrey back to Charlie. But it comes with some amazing little printed pieces of the story. And I just want to share it with you because it might be something that some of you are interested in. I just find storytelling and theatrical experiences like that really fun to be part of. So anyway, I've subscribed to that. I'll keep you posted on how Charlie and Aubrey go. But I also now am really inspired to create some kind of storage box, because over the course of 12 months, I'm going to receive 24 letters. And yeah, I want to wrap it in twine or nice antique ribbon and bundle them up and put them in a little hat box or a little old biscuit tin or something. So I think I need to go op shopping or something to find something to put these in. But anyway, that's my little plug of the week, because I'm just in love with it. It's beautiful. But anyway, moving on to what you guys are going to be doing next week. Next week, we're going to be making the gift card holder project. So this is the little gift card, if I don't hold on to the wrong thing. Pop the little belly band off that holds it all together, and this flips open and your gift card pops up. So there'll be sections in here that you can swap out for plain paper if you want to be able to write a big message in there. But if you've got someone that you're giving a gift card to as a present, rather than giving them just here's a card in a gift card in an envelope, make it something special. So that's what we'll be doing next week. So I hope you've enjoyed today's projects and that you've had fun background stamping and making your own patterns to use. There will be more on some background stamping that comes into play a little bit later in our process, where we will start to do some heat embossing. So we will stamp a background with heat embossing, and then you can ink blend over the top of it, and your pattern will come through that way. That will be then, the pattern will stay the same color as your background cardstock, but whatever ink colors you want to pop on top, will kind of, you know, come around that. So that's a really great technique to do. So I know that this kind of seems a bit simple at the moment, but we are going to head into some more complex ones. And of course, we've got the background stamping down. In March, we're going to do some ink blending, so that'll all start to kind of make sense. And then in a month or two from then, we'll do some embossing. So the skills are coming and the techniques are there. So you're well on your way to finding lots of different ways of creating cards and adding bits and pieces together. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I've loved being back with you guys again. Thanks for the chat. Feel free to post photos of your finished pieces onto the Facebook page. I think I still need to jump in there very quickly today and make an album for you. So give me a sec while I do that. But yeah, other than that, I hope you'll all have a wonderful week and that you can join me on Wednesday at 8 o'clock for What's Up Wednesday. Let me know, send me an email if you've got anything that you want me to cover in that or ask. There'll be possibly, depending on how quickly the post gets here, there might be another little sneak peek of something coming in the March kit on Wednesday. And then we'll launch on Saturday next week. So tell your friends, have a